All right. I want to talk about skeptical materialism, a skeptical approach to analyzing these problems. Now, the first thing is, of course, skeptics don't believe that any of our theories are absolutely coherent uh, to reality or the phenomena that they're attempting to model. You know, we don't think you explain the real world in terms of your theories. Um, the real world explains where your theories came from, right? The real world didn't come from your theories. Your theory came from the real world through your perceptions and analysis, and ultimately from your sense perceptions. So we don't expect all of the models to be perfect. When you try to derive the real world from your theory, what you're really doing is an exercise in post-diction, trying to make sure your theory, your model, can account for all the stuff you've already seen, right? But eventually, when you explore it fully, there'll be the limitations of your model, and it will stop modeling. It will stop predicting and matching the phenomena that you see in the real world, which you know in terms of perceptions. And you'll have to either improve that model, or if it's an isolated little model that works perfectly good in just some special case, you'll need another model to explain these other phenomena. So when we find that we have a theory of materialism or of an external objective reality with objects in it, we have a concept of object, and originally concept of object is that it's physical matter. You know it's a it's mass, and it's particulate. It has that quality, and you would expect it to have that all the way down, and that's the search for physical atoms. And turns out if you break things down enough, they're all energy. So we have to change our idea of object. But the phenomena that was causing us to need a model for object is still there. So we're going to preserve something, and we're not really ever going to have this throw it out. Now, I do sometimes say throw the ideas out, but you'll see that what I'm really arguing for is to improve the ideas. Sometimes a name is so polluted with a bad idea, and the name is a word, you might want to throw out the word, but even then you're really just improving an idea from the past. You're improving your models from the past. So materialism and objectivism, and we have this theory of an external reality. Well, in skepticism, all we really have is our perceptions to get knowledge from. There's the question of what about experiences, things that have happened to you that you didn't necessarily perceive. And that's an interesting topic. But basically, for the purpose of this, they're all a part of the perception. By the time it gets to be knowledge in my head, I perceive something about it, even if it's unconscious or subtle in some way. So all our knowledge comes. So a theory of materialism can't really be about external things per se. The theory of materialism has to be like all ideas, about perceptions. So it's a theory about our perceptions. And specifically, we get a lot of perceptions. And some adhere to principles of continuity and consistency, to non-contradiction. And other ones not so much so. So if I look at a cloud and see a face in the cloud, the appearance of the cloud is fairly consistent. If I look away and look back, the cloud will have be similar enough to see that there's a continuity in its existence there. But the face that I see in it may change, it may go away. So we identify those perceptions that adhere to this consistency as sense perceptions. We don't do it because we know they're coming from the eye. The face seems to come through and come to me from the eye, the face in the cloud. So we don't tell the difference by that because they're mixed up. We tell the difference by the consistency of the perceptions. Materialism within skepticism is just the theory that there is something that explains this consistency. Okay, there is something that explains this consistency. Okay, material is whatever it is that is making these perceptions so consistent. Okay, compared to perceptions that are not so consistent. All right, and here I mean perceptions in terms of fantasia, all of the images we get. Okay, so the face in the cloud is a perception. It's just a phantasmal one. And also, just when we're talking perceptions, it's all the things, our hunger, moods, all of these things that we feel. Okay, so in skeptical materialism, the way it's addressing this question of, oh, we don't know if we're in a dream, is to a certain degree that they're all functionally equivalent. Whatever it is that's making our perceptions consistent, some of them, that's material. So if we're in a dream, fine, then material is dream stuff. If we're in a computer simulation, then fine, the material will be the data structures in a computer that is actually located in a physical space that's totally separate and other from the one we think we inhabit. Fine. You know, whatever is causing that consistency, that is the material, and the materialism is the theory, is our theories about, well, how does this stuff behave? What really is consistent? So at one point we might think, well, the ticking of a clock is consistent. It turns out time is warped. Okay, but there's consistency in the way it warps and whatnot. And to create a model to explain that consistency, that's what materialism's all about. And ultimately, as a skeptic, though, it's just about perceptions. If I have this cup and I perceive myself willing to and then placing it on the table and I leave, the cup will still be here when I come back. And if it's not, I'll know somebody took it because I'm relying on the consistency of my perceptions, and I've already identified this as a solid, consistent perception, so I expect it to continue to be so because, well, really because that's been my experiences. Okay, the model of materialism attempts to explain that, but really, again, it's modeling the phenomena that I've already seen. So a skeptical materialism, that's the way, when I say that I'm a materialist, this is what I mean. I believe there's something making certain of our perceptions very consistent. And if we're in a dream world, it's a dream world where the laws of physics are obeyed, which is interesting. That makes it somewhat different from a nighttime dream. And it kind of shows that we're just talking metaphorically. Because a dream like that, with the consistency down to the precision level of physics, is certainly not like any dream that we actually know. So we're using it as a metaphor. So the question becomes moot a bit in skeptical materialism, because whatever it is, it's having the same results on this theory of materialism. The source of this stuff does not really change the modeling, or it doesn't have to, because the modeling is in terms of, well, if I have this perceptions as the precursor, then I'll have some of this kind of perception as a consequence. So that's my comment on skeptical materialism.